Hey, I'm Hannah Weiss, the Education Manager at the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and this is your moment of STEM. And this week I'd like to talk about something really, really cool that happened 15 years ago. I'd like to talk about the Human Genome Project. Now, 15 years ago, we finished this project. It was this incredibly huge project, this incredibly huge undertaking to map all of our genome, all of our DNA, all of our genes, and figure out really what all was there. It was incredibly important, and even though it finished 15 years ago, it's something that still has an effect today. We use the results of the Human Genome Project to do everything from figuring out early risk factors and early diagnosis of disease, to some of that research has even gone into things like figuring out where we're from, our ancestry. DNA is incredibly, incredibly important. In fact, it's the building block of what we are. It's what we're made up of. And this week, we've even discovered more about DNA. You see, when most people think about DNA, they think about spiral staircases, those helical structures, those windy structures that DNA is made of. So they think of something like this, those two strands that are wrapped around each other in that spiral. And DNA is found like that a lot of the time. But there are other structures that DNA can be found in. And one of them, just this week, we found in our cells. So as I'm talking to you right now, as you're watching this is in your cells. We found something called iDNA. So it kind of looks like this. So it still does have some of those kind of windy strands, but it also has this structure that looks a little bit like this, because it's one of the strands that's kind of bound to itself. So this we found in DNA right now. And that's really amazingly cool that we're still learning things about DNA 15 years after we've completed the Human Genome Project. I'm Hannah Weiss from the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and I can't wait to figure out what other shapes DNA can twist itself into.